Welcome to Nourishing the Feminine. We're going to explore breast health and natural self care through the lens of Ayurveda and nature. So, before we get going, I want to remind everybody that this session today is a space for learning and reflection and embodiment and inquiry. And it's for inspiration and education, and it's not a substitute for professional medical care. So if you ever notice changes in your own breasts, if you're pregnant, nursing, under treatment, any of those things, consult your care team. These tools and resources are here to support and complement anything else that you might be doing. And um, they're a wonderful foundation for us all to live by, regardless of if we have breasts or not. Honestly, this is for foundational natural self-care, um, but really with an emphasis today on breast health. So that said, we'll be exploring what Ayurveda, the ancient science of life and healing, teaches us about breast health and whole body balance. So let's just take a moment and start by softening into presence and into the space together. So I invite you to close your eyes if you're able. Just take a moment to go inside and settle into this space that you've given yourself to learn and to receive. Just take a few slow inhales through your nose and long, delicious exhale through your mouth. And doing that a few more times, really releasing any stress, any heat, anything that you might be holding. And letting the exhales be full and complete and maybe a little bit longer than the inhale. And feel yourself anchored to the surface that you're seated upon. Let your body soften and let go of any preconceived notions right here and now that you may have about health, about healing, about your body, about breasts. And taking one more big breath in, gathering up all of those preconceived notions, those little beliefs, and letting it out, letting yourself be open and clear. And then gently opening your eyes and returning to this space together. Okay, so welcome. I feel like now we're all really here together, grounded and in our time. So let's get into it. We're going to move through some teachings, some reflection, and then close with a short embodiment practice to connect with the wisdom of the heart, which we will explore is related to our breasts and to this very wise, intuitive place. So our breasts are more than anatomy. They're more than just this physical part of our body. They are actually extensions of the heart. They're soft expressions of love, of nourishment, of generosity and giving, of sensuality and connection. In Ayurveda and Vedic wisdom, the breasts belong to the realm of Anahata, so the heart center, the heart chakra, where giving and receiving are one continuous rhythm. right? So this kind of give, receive, give, receive. When we feel open, trusting, and at ease with life, that heart energy flows freely and easily, and there's softness and creativity and vitality. And when we harden or close or carry shame, the heart constricts, right? Like think about when you're very stressed out or when you're afraid, when you're feeling shame or embarrassment, there's this kind of coiling in, right? The back of the neck, the back of the heart, the shoulders, it's achy, it's tight, it goes in, there's constriction. So this literal heart and this energetic um, kind of realm, they constrict. And so obviously it would make sense that the tissue that extends from it also does too. And so we can also think of actually the arms and the hands, this whole kind of uh, region on a physical and a metaphorical, energetic level as being related. So breasts, chest, shoulders, arms, hands, all this space of giving and receiving and love and creativity and softness and nourishment. Think about people we love, we hold them, we embrace them, we make things with our hands, making meals, making crafts. So this is all very tied into the same concepts. And then, for centuries, cultural conditioning has made many women disconnect from this very sacred part of their bodies on a literal and energetic level. Breasts, in particular, have been overly sexualized, they've been hidden, shamed, policed, and reconnecting with them is an act of reclamation, right? It's an act of kind of rebelliousness. To care for your breasts is to reclaim softness as power and to honor your heart and all that it encompasses is to remember that gentleness and strength can coexist. So, Ayurveda sees the body as a living ecosystem. There are no separate parts. That's one of the things I love so dearly about this system. And just a brief little kind of tidbit about me, if you don't know, if you're new to my my world, welcome. But I have a background in various things, and one of which is in integrative health. And complementary and alternative medicine. I've got a master's degree, so I have deep, more than I wanted to ever have, knowledge of how kind of the more modern and Western paradigm views the body. And it's nice and it has its place and it's helpful, but it's very segmented, it's very fragmented, it's very compartmentalized. We see it through that lens as more like we're a robot with parts and pieces, and we need to look at things as parts and pieces. And that's just not how it is. On a very basic level, think about you can't like scratch your ear without your knee knowing about it. You know what I'm saying? We're one cohesive piece. We are a living ecosystem, and everything feeds and communicates with everything else. We are not just parts. We're not just physical. There's many layers. There's different nuances to our being. When digestion and circulation flow freely, tissues stay nourished and radiant. Right? And we can kind of just think about that. Like, okay, if digestion of food, we'll just stay on the physical level for now because digestion is way more than just food. It's digesting life and emotions and experiences. And we'll talk about that later. But when digestion and circulation flow freely, so when I am taking in stuff and turning it into usable material for my body, so digestion, and circulation, that usable stuff that I have taken from the food I've eaten is then able to circulate the way it should to nourish the various tissues, the various levels of tissues in my body, then things are nourished and radiant, right? Simple. But when that flow is blocked by stress, poor diet, unprocessed emotions, stagnation develops. The system gets clogged. And the breasts, kind of demonstrate that very, very readily because they rely heavily on healthy lymph and fat metabolism. So there are 7 layers of tissue from an Ayurvedic perspective, and 3 of them play a very special role in breast health. So you don't need to memorize these things. I just think it can be interesting to kind of see a different viewpoint and to kind of hear these things. So if some of this is just like, I don't care, or the Sanskrit freaks you out, or whatever, there's no quiz. Just again, remember the invitation at the beginning, be open and clear and curious, drop preconceived notions and be open to new ways of viewing things. So the 3 layers of the 7 in particular that play a special role in breast health. I mean, all 7 of them do, but the 3 that I wanted to focus on was rasa dhatu, and dhatu means tissue. And rasa dhatu is the plasma and the lymph in our body. And this is the first tissue formed after digestion. So when things start to break down there, everything downstream, the other 6 tissues, are going to suffer. So this is carrying the hydration and the nourishment. It's so tied into our emotion and our stress. So when we are stressed out, when there's unprocessed emotions, that is going to be the first thing that suffers. And then meta dhatu is the body's healthy fat tissue that provides lubrication, stability, and hormone balance. And then stanya dhatu is a specialized tissue of the breasts and breast milk. And it is only about the breasts. It's very, very special. And that's nourished by rasa and then everything else that comes before it. So when rasa is clear and meta is balanced, breast feels supple and alive. And when digestion is weak, stress is chronic, emotions are held in, these channels can clog and stagnate. The subtle essence that keeps all of this radiant and resilient is called Ojas. So our deep reserve of vitality. We can think of Ojas as like I remember actually one time I was explaining this to my dad years and years and years ago. And I always told myself if I could get him to understand and be on board with these things, I can like I can do it for anybody because he's kind of old-fashioned, kind of stereotypical in those ways of an older male. And I'm, yes, very, very stereotyping here. He kind of fits that persona. So I was explaining Ojas to him and he's like, "Oh, Ojas, like mojo." I was like, "Yeah, actually that can work. It's like your mojo for life. So it's your the glow in your eyes. It's the resilience in your heart, in your system. It's the strength of your immunity, the peace of your mind. And when it is strong, so when there's that nice reservoir of resilience, of inner health, we feel grounded and calm, creative and clear. Our skin glows, our immunity is steady, our breasts are soft, healthy, resilient. And when it's depleted, we feel brittle, anxious, and chronically tired. Kind of like, the flame of our vitality is flickering. And the tissues of the body, especially the breasts, may start to feel different, right? Like maybe tenser, tender, dull. And when we can really tend this part of us, which we're going to get to how we do that in a second. I'm kind of just painting this picture. So we talked about how we have these tissues of the body. The body is a whole piece. It is not a system of parts. It is a whole holistic living ecosystem. We need to keep digestion and circulation flowing freely to feed all of the layers of tissues. And the way that we stay nice and resilient and have that reservoir of vitality is to feed Ojas. Okay, so stick with me. Let's keep our eye on the ball here. Things that deplete Ojas are overworking, overstimulation, irregular meals, overeating, processed foods, basically every way that is normalized by mainstream society. Stimulants, emotional repression, particularly grief and anger and shame, lack of rest, lack of self-compassion, and more. So how many of us are living in a state of this day in and day out? And it's a nice reminder that, we could have the most perfect diet, whatever that even is. But if all of these other pieces are here, or we're holding on to a lot of those emotional pieces, it's not going to matter. Remember Rasa Dhatu, that first level of tissue nourishment? That is so sensitive to emotions. Another translation, rasa, actually translates into flavor. It has a couple, it's a very special word. It's one of my favorites. It it has a couple of different translations. So like flavor is one of them, emotions is another. So this kind of this flavor, this vibe, this emotional tone, as well as this like juicy, because it's in charge of the lymph and the hydration. That's another translation, another way of thinking about it. So thinking and feeling into that, it makes a lot of sense that if that first layer is not being nourished because of these emotional pieces, and particularly as a woman and a woman's body with shame and grief and anger around the heart space, there's going to be a lot of depletion taking place. So building Ojas, that yummy inner reservoir of strength and vitality, comes through warmth, nourishing whole foods eaten at regular intervals, rhythmic living on a daily basis with regular cadence of sleep and work, rest and movement, making sure that there's a lot of affection in our lives, creativity, spiritual connection, and true rest, not just like zoning out. A lot of people think that, oh, I'm resting, but actually they're like scrolling on social media or shopping on Amazon or watching TV. That's not rest. That's zoning out. Okay. So how do we support all of this, and how do we really, really love the boobies, love on the breasts? Building ojas is important, and it all comes back to the digestion of food and life so that those tissues can be nourished. As we nourish those tissues and keep the flow of digestion and circulation nice and open, taking in the good stuff, having the capacity to turn it into usable parts to nourish the 7 tissues so that the usable parts and material that we take in from the food goes and feeds the tissues. At the end of that process, ojas is created. And again, that ojas is we can think about this inner reserve, this like pot of like honey. I don't know why this always comes to my mind, but it's like we have this nice honey pot that's in our center, and it just keeps us glowing and healthy and alive and vibrant. And again, we're a whole piece. So we're not just talking about like, well, what's the best thing for the boobs? Well, all of this is the best thing for the boobs. And we'll talk about booby specific things in a minute. However, this is the foundation. This is the backbone. And the beautiful thing about Ayurveda and about this way of looking at the body and getting out of this compartmentalized, we're a bunch of parts and robotic kind of thinking, is we don't need to fixate on like symptoms or on what's the best thing for that part of my body? What's the best thing to do for this part of my body? Or I have this illness. What do I do about that? When we can let go of that and look at it in a holistic way where we're a whole thing and we apply this framework to it, we're nourishing everything. We're not just being fixated on the one part. Because, like the example I gave, I can't scratch my ear without my knee knowing about it. So if I'm going to the root of how my body makes immunity, how my body makes resilience and a reservoir of strength and health, and how my body nourishes itself, then I'm nourishing the entire thing. And I don't need to be so fixated on this part or this thing or this illness or this whatever, because I'm going to the root of how my body handles health and healing and immunity and vitality as a whole. So we take in the stuff, break it down into usable bits, nourish all the tissues. At the end of that process, Ojas is made. And it's this really beautiful cycle because it's like in order to more efficiently feed the tissues, it can be, nice to have some Ojas. And so it's just, again, in the same spirit of this giving and receiving that the heart and the breasts and this whole region symbolize. It's the same concept in the body of this giving and receiving, nourishing and collaborative, cohesive working together to make that happen. Ayurveda says that all disease begins with disturbed digestion. Okay, so that's why, again, keeping our eye on the ball here, when we go to the root of how our bodies maintain themselves, we don't need to be so fixated on parts and pieces because the whole thing is taking care of itself in the way that it is meant to. We focus on our digestion. And again, I invited you to let go of what you thought you knew about health and healing or have been told, because a lot of times when I say that to people who only have the kind of background of mainstream Western thinking, is they're like, digestion means like poop, heartburn. Well, I don't have those things and I poop just fine. So like what does that have to do with anything? Okay, that's wonderful. And let that go because there's way more to it. And it's simpler than we might realize. So digestion is more than food. It's our ability to metabolize everything. Everything. Everything that we take in through the senses must be metabolized. So meals, yes, what I put into my mouth, what I eat, what I feed my physical body. And also this digestion is about how I process and metabolize emotions and life experiences, information, things I take in through my eyeballs, things I hear, things I smell. So, conversations I have, and think about for a moment all of the things that we take in on a daily basis. You're hearing my words right now. You're seeing this video, unless you're just listening. But in either case, these are things you're taking in that have to be digested. All of that scrolling on the internet, smells and the different chemicals that we're exposed to through our skin or through those smells, sights that we take in. There's a lot of stuff coming at us, and especially as we kind of progress through time right now as a species, we're making a lot of technological advancements that we could argue are maybe helpful, maybe not, that's a different conversation. But the fact is, there's a lot happening. And so it makes it a lot easier to pump information out there, right? There's just stuff, a sea of noise that gets noisier and choppier. So there's a lot that we have to take in. Everything that we have ever experienced, seen, felt, heard, etc., is in our brains. It's in there. And so then we are on a daily basis doing things like eating and taking in more stuff. So just think about that for a moment. There's a lot of stuff in our system on a physical level, on an energetic level, on an emotional level, a mental level. So when digestion, or Agni, as it is referred to as in Vedic wisdom, when Agni is strong, we process things, we process life, food with clarity. When it's weak, not so much. So it's this fire inside of us that is responsible for transforming all of the input, all of the stuff that I just talked about. Agni is the fire that is responsible for transforming that into consciousness, into usable things, and then letting go of the rest. So that is what helps us to take, as like I said in the beginning, take in the stuff and break it down into usable bits, and then nourish the tissues to then make the ojas. And where do the boobies come into that? Well, they're part of that. They're a tissue in the body. When that process is happening, because Agni is happy and Agni is strong, boobies take care of themselves, as does everything else in my system. My heart, my lungs, my skin, my teeth, my nails, my hair, my joints. They all take care of themselves as they're intended to without us fixating or micromanaging, because we're not going to the right place. When we start to fixate and want to micromanage a symptom or a thing that we're experiencing, we're not going to the root. We're not addressing the place where my body manufactures its immunity. The place where my body does the housekeeping to make sure that those tissues get fed, to make sure that residue isn't building up, which is going to go clog the channels, which is going to, we can think of it like a dam. If I dam up a river, the stuff downstream is like they're not getting any water. So if I'm compromised in some way at the head of the stream, all the stuff downstream is gonna suffer. The rest of the tissues of my body are not going to be as nourished. So this Agni is everything. When it's weak, like I said, that residue builds up. There's undigested matter, either physically through food or emotionally and energetically through other experiences and things that we're not digesting. And this residue is called It's this kind of sticky, undigested matter, metabolic toxins that clog the body's channels. It can be undigested life, like I said, it can be physical. And so will show up with things like heaviness, fatigue, sluggish lymph, getting sick frequently, having a odd taste in your mouth, really bad body odor, poor sleep, digestive issues, basically any health issue that we can experience. And it can also be emotional, which, I mean, they're tied together, right? Health issues in the body are going to show up in conjunction with emotional things, because go back to the first tissue we talked about, rasa dhatu. When there's this emotional aspect, rasa is compromised. And if rasa is compromised, that's the first part of the river of tissues that need to be nourished and fed. So when we start like, oh, there's the dam, right? It's not getting fed very well because of the emotional and the energetic pieces. The rest of it's not going to happen. My work, honestly, like, yes, people come to me, we do physical health things, and they might come in because they're having a physical health issue. And my gift that I've been given by spirit in this lifetime is to support them in getting to the root cause of what they're experiencing. And yes, the root is going to be, oh, Devon, you just said it was weak Agni. Yes, that's correct. And what's causing that weak Agni? So going a little deeper, because that's the thing we really need to get to. And so these metabolic toxins, this residue that builds up when the digestion is weak, when we're not metabolizing things, that can make us feel unstable and like we can't go deeper. We can't access the deeper levels of healing and the emotional pieces that might be connected to what our body is telling us, if it's breast issues, if it's digestion issues, if it's whatever other hormonal, sleep, skin, any other issue that we're having physically. And as we start to stabilize the physical, taking the dam, deconstructing the dam that started to be built up here, upriver, and the nourishment starts to flow and the Ojas starts to become replenished and the Agni starts to burn a little brighter. I've seen some massive transformations in personality, like in a matter of like weeks. People are like, "Oh, I'm actually not. I've always thought I was just anxious. I had social anxiety, or the different labels we give ourselves. I thought I was just an angry person." And it's like, "Oh no, baby, you just had a lot of buildup in the system, and now we're removing that, and the energy and the emotions can start to rise up, and then we can get to these deeper layers." So those old emotional pieces, especially around the breasts, can be things like grief. Anything that's connected to this heart space and this area. And maybe, we're going to do an embodiment thing here in a moment, but maybe just start to kind of inquire into your breasts and into your heart space. Like what is here? Things like I said, like grief, resentment, shame, fear really tend to live there. And those emotions are strong and are good at building dams. So how do we support Agni, support this metabolic process, digestion of food, of life, to keep those energies and those emotions flowing, to nourish the stream of all the tissues? And I keep referring to it as a stream because there is an order. I don't know if I made that clear, but they do get nourished in order and they go deeper and deeper into the system. So like Rasa is the more superficial, like hydration levels and lymph and stuff like that. And then it goes all the way down, down, down. The last one being the reproductive tissues, right? So it's kind of like going from outer to inner, these very deeper tissues. And so there is like a sequence to them. So how do we do this? How do we do it and keep the boobies happy, keep all of our body humming along so that it can be here to serve us as an instrument, as a tool? It's hard to be of service and to live with purpose when we're bogged down by health issues that can be really easily resolved with some shifts and a return to things that are more natural and rhythmic. So we talked about what harms this. So naturally, what's going to help it is going to be like the opposite. So eating warm, simple, regular meals, ideally with no snacks, finishing dinner early and letting the body actually rest overnight rather than be digesting while it's trying to sleep. Protecting your senses, so less noise, less media, less chaos. making time to feel your feelings, not just think them. So that's how we support these processes. And when life is digested, Ojas rises, and every tissue, including the breasts, stays nourished and cleared. So the most effective breast care is holistic self-care. So I hope that if you've taken anything from what I've said today, it is that we don't need to get fixated and hung up on parts of ourselves because we're not parts. We are a whole living ecosystem. And what is needed is a holistic approach to living and caring for ourselves. And it's not complicated. What's complicated is when we start to view ourselves as parts and we think like, "Oh, I need to do this thing for that, and I need to do this thing for that." And then it's like, what are we even doing? We're just kind of running around trying to I'm not sure. Like, for example, people often when they come to me, they're taking so many supplements and things, and I'm like, "Why are you taking this?" And a lot of times they don't remember, or they'll be like, "Well, I heard it was good for this, and I have this." Right? Like, I'm taking this thing for my joints, and I'm taking this thing for my skin, and that's complicated. So, the most effective breast care is holistic self-care. It's the daily tending that builds over time. So it's this daily rhythmic living. Health is a rhythm. It's how we eat, how we sleep, how we move and reflect each day. And I teach in my program to my clients 5 daily foundations of natural self-care, which inevitably support the breasts, the hormonal balance, and every other part of our being. And so those 5 core, fundamental, non-negotiable daily practices for every human being are daily whole foods, seasonally, ideally, and ideally as 3 meals a day and no snacks. Daily sleep at consistent times every day, yes, even on the weekends. Go to bed and wake up at the same time. Daily physical activity that is joyful to you. It doesn't need to look a certain way. It doesn't need to be anything other than joyful. Daily intentional use of the breath, so daily breath practice, and daily time for reflection and energy management. And then that's it. This rhythm is your medicine, and you can refine it and deepen into it and play with it and learn more and maybe adjust seasonally, which starts to feel more natural as you steady into these ways of living and being. It all just kind of flows because your innate intelligence and like cells know, oh yes, this is what's natural. This is how we live. This is how we do things. Okay, so we've covered a lot. Let's take a few moments before we close to connect to our bodies, connect to our feminine heart. I'm going to take a sip and I invite you to make any little physical adjustments you might need to find a comfortable space. So once you have found a comfortable seat, I invite you to let your body settle, taking your awareness, your focus from learning and listening back down into your body and into your breath, letting everything that you've heard kind of settle, putting it away for now, knowing that what you needed to hear is landing and settling. So letting it digest and bringing your awareness and your focus to your breath and to your body. Let your shoulders get heavy. Let your jaw soften. And bring one hand to your heart, one to your lower belly. And with each inhale, feel your chest rise and your belly gently expand as you receive and take in this love, this nourishment. And as you exhale, allow the body to soften, melt, release. Keep breathing just like that, feeling the inhale as this gift, this nourishment, this love, tracking as it moves into your body, down into your lungs, filling you, oxygenating you. You take exactly what you need and you exhale, softening, melting, releasing what you don't. Just like that easily, that naturally. Receiving, nourishing on the inhale, taking in what you need, and letting go of the rest with the exhale. Now imagine that your breath is a current moving through you from heart to belly, from belly back to heart. And feel how this current connects your emotional center, your heart, with your creative center, the low belly, womb space area. These are the two poles of feminine wisdom, love and creation. And the breasts rest between them, conduits of nourishment, tenderness, love, and power. Let your breath become that bridge, bridging these poles of love and creation. Feeling the softness and the strength that you possess. Feeling the wisdom that lives inside of your cells, inside of your heart, inside of your womb. Really feeling again that softness and that strength. Strength in the softness in the strength. And bringing your awareness to your breasts, breathing right into them, feeling what is alive there, what emotions are here. Asking your body if there's a message, something that wants to be shared with you. And getting very quiet, very still, just hearing what that might be. And gently bringing your awareness back to your body, back to the space that you're in. Taking a moment to offer gratitude to your body, to your breath, to the ancient wisdom that is alive within you. And bringing some gentle movement back to your body. And slowly opening your eyes, making your way back to the room that you're in, noticing any smells, taking in the sights, noticing the textures on your skin from clothing or the surface that you're on. Mm. And if it feels poignant, maybe taking a moment to jot down anything that came up for you. So, as we close for today, I want to remind you that the heart and the breasts are not separate. They are a conversation between love and creativity and embodiment and wisdom and your strength and your power. And also, you are a beautiful, holistic, living ecosystem, not a series of parts. Every act of nourishment, every pause, every exhale of release is a way of saying to yourself, I choose to live in rhythm with life itself. I choose to nourish and honor the unfathomably amazing creation that I am. Healing and wholeness happen in quiet moments. Those repeated quiet moments, those warm meals, deep breaths, the kind words to ourselves, and in the trust that our softness is not weakness, but wisdom. So may your daily rhythms become your prayers of devotion to life itself, to wanting to experience it fully. May your body become a home for peace. May your heart always remember its vastness. Mm. You can find the replay for this, as well as written reflections and other specific practices and recipes related to natural self-care, rhythmic living, and Ayurveda on my blog at InnerSpark.life. And if you feel called to go deeper into this work, I'd be honored to walk with you through one-on-one sessions together or through the InnerSpark Method Everyday Rhythms program. Thank you so much for being here, for showing up for your body, for your heart, and this sacred remembering. Thank you so much.